It's never a good sign when whispers start surfacing from inside training camp, and this time, those whispers have a name attached to them. There's real talk now that one of the Cowboys' most experienced defenders is feeling boxed in, overlooked, and maybe even on his way out. It's not some fringe player either, we're talking about someone who's made consistent contributions year after year. And now, he might be headed toward the trade block. Welcome to Cowboys camp, where competition is fierce. Roles shift fast, and nothing is guaranteed, not even for guys who've worn the star for half a decade. This latest buzz centers on growing frustration from within the locker room. A player who's quietly done his job, produced on the field, and stuck around through scheme changes is suddenly questioning his place in the new-look defense. And it all starts with one key shift: Dan Quinn is gone. With Quinn now leading the Commanders, the identity of the Cowboys' defense is evolving under Mike Zimmer. That's a major transition, and for some guys, it feels like the rug is being pulled out from under them. If you've been following the training camp reports closely, you've probably already heard the name Dorance Armstrong come up more than once. He's not complaining publicly, but the signs are all there: reduced snaps and drills, younger players being cycled in, and a sense that his role isn't nearly as secure as it used to be. For a veteran like Armstrong, who's never been the loudest guy in the room but has always answered the call, that's got to be frustrating. He's entering what should be a prime moment in his career, and instead, he's fighting for air in a crowded defensive front. Now here's where things get real interesting. Reports from inside the organization suggest that if the situation doesn't change, Armstrong could be a candidate for a mid-camp trade. That's right, not after preseason, not at the deadline, now. And if that doesn't get your attention as a Cowboys fan, I don't know what will. Let me ask you this: do you think the Cowboys coaching staff is handling their veteran players the right way? Or is this a case of a valuable asset being pushed aside too soon? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and hey, if you live for this kind of insider drama, make sure you hit that like button. And help us hit our goal of 16,000 subscribers by subscribing today. You don't want to miss what's coming next, because we're just getting started. Dorance Armstrong isn't a household name outside of Dallas, but inside the Cowboys fan base, you know exactly who he is. He's that steady presence on the edge who doesn't get flashy headlines, but somehow always ends up making impact plays. And now, the same guy who's been flying under the radar might be flying out of town. So let's talk about what's really at stake here. Armstrong's been with the Cowboys since 2018, a fourth-round pick who quietly worked his way into the rotation. Year after year, he kept improving. He became a guy the coaching staff could count on, setting the edge, winning on stunts, contributing on special teams, and eventually producing career-high sack numbers under Dan Quinn. Last season, he notched 7.5 sacks in a rotational role. That's not just solid, that's starter-level production in a defense loaded with pass rushers. But instead of getting rewarded with a bigger role this offseason, Armstrong seems to be slipping behind guys like Sam Williams and the newly drafted Marshawn Nyland. And here's the thing: he's not just being overlooked by fans or the media. This is happening at the team level. Sources suggest that Armstrong has been rotating with the second team more than expected and hasn't had many clear first-team reps. For a player heading into a contract year and trying to establish his value for the future, that's a tough pill to swallow, especially when you've already proven you can produce under pressure and play within multiple fronts. Some around the league see Armstrong as a classic case of wrong place, wrong time. He bloomed under Dan Quinn, who valued depth and aggression in his defensive rotations. Now, with Zimmer in charge and a slightly different vision taking shape, Armstrong could end up the odd man out. But let's not forget, this is still a 27-year-old edge rusher with production, experience, and a clean bill of health. If he hits the market or becomes available via trade, there will be interest. So let me put this out there: do you think Dorance Armstrong is one of the most underrated players on this roster? Or do you think it's time to move on and make space for younger talent? Give me a simple yes or no in the comments, and if you haven't already, subscribe to Cowboys News TV so you're locked in for every training camp twist. We're breaking it all down for you every step of the way. When Dan Quinn left Dallas, a lot more left with him than just a playbook. He took with him a mindset, a system, and perhaps most importantly trust. Guys like Dorance Armstrong thrived under Quinn not just because of scheme fit, but because Quinn believed in rotating talent, playing to individual strengths, and building up players who weren't necessarily first-round picks or national media darlings. That kind of environment is rare in today's NFL, and now that comfort zone is gone. Enter Mike Zimmer, a proven defensive mind, no doubt, but a completely different breed. Zimmer brings discipline, structure, and a reputation for leaning on veterancy, trusts, and schemes he's refined over decades. His approach is less about maximizing every player's toolset and more about plugging the right guys into rigid roles. That's not a bad thing in itself, but for players like Armstrong, who thrived on flexibility and rotation, the adjustment might not be so smooth. We're already seeing some of the effects. Armstrong's camp reps have shifted. His visibility on the depth chart feels murky. And the buzz coming out of practice isn't about how Zimmer is unlocking his potential, it's about whether Armstrong even fits this version of the Cowboys' defense at all. That's a big shift for a player who was a valuable piece of the puzzle under the previous regime. What makes this even trickier is the logjam on the defensive line. You've got DeMarcus Lawrence still anchoring the edge, Sam Williams is on the rise. Then there's Dante Fowler Jr., Vili Amifehiko Jr., and now a new wave of young draft picks Zimmer wants to mold his way. That's a lot of bodies, and not a lot of room for someone like Armstrong, who might not check every box Zimmer's looking for schematically. But here's the bigger question: should scheme outweigh proven production? Should his system be adjusted to keep high-performing veterans in the mix? That's where fans get divided. Some trust Zimmer to reshape the defense completely, while others worrying that we're about to lose a quietly important piece of the Cowboys' recent success. So what about you? Are you confident that Mike Zimmer's system is going to be a net positive for this defense? Or are you already seeing signs of trouble? Drop your take in the comments. And hey, if you're still watching, that means you're one of us. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on those notifications. Cowboys News TV is your place for all the real talk about this team, not just the headlines. Trade rumors aren't exactly new during training camp, but when they start circling a productive, homegrown player like Dorance Armstrong, it hits different. This isn't a case of a guy underperforming or causing locker room issues. Armstrong is a team-first player with a strong work ethic and a proven track record. So if his name is floating around as a possible trade candidate, you have to ask what's really going on behind the scenes. From what we're hearing, it's a mix of timing, scheme fit, and opportunity. The Cowboys have a defensive line that's bursting at the seams. Between emerging players, high draft investments, and the front office trying to balance cap space, someone was bound to get squeezed. And right now, Armstrong may be that guy. The chatter coming from inside the building suggests that if a team comes knocking with a decent offer, the Cowboys might just listen. That could mean a mid-round pick, maybe even a late third or early fourth depending on need. And there are plenty of teams that could use a rotational pass rusher with Armstrong's experience. Teams like the Falcons, Bears, or even the Steelers come to mind. These are squads looking to shore up their depth or add veteran leadership to young locker rooms. Armstrong fits that mold perfectly, but here's the gamble: are the Cowboys better off with Armstrong on the field or flipping him for future assets? With DeMarcus Lawrence aging and no guarantees on the development of the younger guys, moving on from Armstrong could open up a depth issue in a position group that's already top-heavy. On the flip side, if Zimmer's system is truly reshaping this defense, maybe Armstrong doesn't fit long-term, and it makes sense to cash in now while his value is high. It's a tough call, and one the front office is likely debating right now. And that's where you come in. Would you trade Armstrong if it meant getting back a decent draft pick? Or would you keep him as part of a legitimate Super Bowl push this season? Vote down in the comments, and if you've got a dream trade scenario, lay it out. We'll be featuring the top fan takes in our next upload. And while you're at it, make sure you've hit that subscribe button. Cowboys News TV is all about hearing your voice, not just talking heads. We're closing in on 16,000 subscribers. Be part of the push and help us get there. At the heart of this whole Dorance Armstrong situation isn't just a player possibly on the move, it's a reflection of where the Cowboys are as a franchise right now. There's a shift happening, both in philosophy and personnel. We're seeing the team pivot toward younger, cheaper talent while still trying to keep the window open for a Super Bowl run. That's a tightrope walk, and balancing loyalty with strategy isn't easy, especially when it involves veterans who've put in real work like Armstrong. It also raises the question, what kind of culture is being built here? Are the Cowboys valuing production and consistency? Or is it more about finding guys who fit a new scheme, even if it means letting go of players who've proven themselves? These are the kinds of decisions that define the identity of a team, not just this season, but for years to come. And it's not just Armstrong feeling the ripple effect. Other veterans are surely watching closely. They're seeing who gets pushed out, who gets prioritized, and how fast things can change once new leadership steps in. That creates a different kind of pressure in the locker room. Everyone's fighting for their spot, even guys with years of service and results to back them up. So let me ask you, do you trust the Cowboys front office to make the right call here? Should they keep Armstrong and double down on proven depth? Or is it smarter to flip him while his trade value is hot? Let us know in the comments below, and if you've made it to the end, you're exactly the kind of fan this channel is built for. Hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't yet, and help us reach that 16,000 mark. We've got more insider takes and real Cowboys talk coming your way, so stay locked in.